Good evening. Welcome to Sports Overtime here in our digital studio, Southeast Sports Plus. Our show airs Monday to Friday, every day from 2 to 4 o'clock. We have some great guests this week as we preview week 2 of the college football season. Here's the best of.
Southeast Sports Plus, Simone, Patrick, Gerhard joining you as we are looking ahead to week 3 of the college football season. And we will have our local team, South Alabama, making a trip to the Plains, Gerhard, as the Jags and the Tigers go head-to-head in week 3. And of course, we had to have our guy on the show, Major Applewhite, the head coach of South Alabama. Coach, how's it going? Good to see you, sir.
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to this big game. I know it's one that has kind of been circled on the calendar for Jag fans for a while. Coach, I know that you had a tough one there against Tulane last week, but how have you seen the team already respond kind of in practice as you guys move forward?
Well, I think there were some bright spots. I mean, you've got to pull some positives. It's tough to lose by 2 at home, but there were some positives in the way that we came back. The way we came out swinging to get started out to a 14-point lead, that was great. But when you play great teams, they're going to battle back, and you be able to sustain. We made some bad decisions and some mistakes there in the third quarter allowed them to get ahead, but they fought hard, came back. We had a 2-point opportunity. We missed on a 2-point. But had a chance to come back. I think there's a lot of positives, the resiliency that they showed, and continue to build on that as we gain playing experience. For people who follow us, they know we lost a lot of players in the portal, but I was really proud of all the guys who stepped up in those roles and the way they played, and we're going to continue to get better as the season goes along.
Coach, where do you feel like your team has improved already? In your time, not only in fall camp, but as you go from week 1 to week 2, where do you feel like you've seen these guys get better?
Well, I think their belief in themselves. There's not a ton of playing experience on this team. We had our starting quarterback last year, Gio, had opportunities to start against Eastern Michigan. It started against Troy. Had a lot of playing time. There's other guys in other roles. I can go through them individually, but there's a lot of guys that haven't had as much playing experience. So as they gain that playing experience during fall camp and the first 2 games, I see them steadily improving. So those are the bright spots to me that we're going to have to get better as the season goes along. We're not coming into the season with, all right, out of our 22 starters, we've got 17 back. We're looking at our 44, 11 on each side of the ball, 2 deep. That's 44. We had about 19 of those guys coming back. So there's a tremendous amount, 25 guys that are brand new brand new to Mobile, let alone brand new to playing. So there's a lot of development that'll go on as the season goes along.
Your quarterback, Bishop Davenport, obviously ended off the season on a great note last year. MVP of the bowl game. It seems like he's rolled that confidence into this year so far. What have you seen from him in the early stages of the season?
Well, it really started back to spring ball and how hard he's worked. And I think he's always had his mind on one play away or one portal away. And for him, it came in May. And, his work started back in January. He was already working that way. So when our starting quarterback left, he had already been working at that pace and that tempo. And, and that's the old saying, when stay ready doesn't have to get ready. Mm-hmm. So he stayed ready and was ready to go, and he's just going to continue to improve. And he's got a heck of a challenge against him this weekend, but I know he's ready for it.
Yeah, Coach, speaking of this weekend, of course, going to the Plains, you are very, very familiar as a coach, as a player, now that Texas is they're in the SEC, about this league. I mean, you've been at the highest of high levels, and you continue to do things really, really in a great way there at South Alabama. How excited are you from a personal standpoint for this game to go to Auburn to get this experience? And also, how much are your guys just ready to go and to show what it is that the South Alabama brand is all about right now, and to say, hey, like, no one's necessarily doing us a favor. Like, we want to go out there and compete. Yeah,
I mean, it's all of the above. It's all of the above from, growing up a young man in the state of Alabama. You either want to go to Alabama or you want to go to Auburn.
Of course.
And so for the guys to get an opportunity to go play in that stadium with that crowd is going to be phenomenal, just from a childhood dream standpoint.
Yep.
Chance to put your program and your brand in a program like that, the chance to play the best conference in college football. All of those things add up and make the experience what it is. So I'm extremely. I want as many of these as we could get on our schedule. We're still a 15-year-old program. We're still young, but the way you get respect is you go play these teams, and you go into their stadium and you go compete, and that's the way you get notoriety for your program, for your school. So I love this opportunity.
Speaking of Auburn specifically this year, coming off of 2 big wins, how much does that inspire your guys to, like you said, go out and show that you can compete with the best of the best, considering how Auburn is off to a strong start this season?
They're killing it. I mean, right now they've got a lot of confidence and continuity in what they're doing on offense. Their quarterback's playing at an extremely high level. They're able to run the football effectively. Defensively, they're number one in the country in run defense. They're number one in the country in sacks. So you got to figure out if you want to try to run it against the number one team or throw it against the number one sack team. And they're getting people off the field. I think they're number two in the country in third down conversion. So they are hitting on all cylinders, and it will be every bit the test you just said it will be.
Yeah, Coach. When you think about just where this Auburn program is, what they've been able to do so far, where do you feel as though Hugh Freeze kind of has this Auburn program? I know that you kind of keep an eye. I know you're focused, of course, on what the Jags are doing, but I know you have an eye on kind of what's happening in college football in its entirety as well. Kind of what's your relationship with Hugh Freeze, if any, and then kind of where do you think he kind of has this program right now?
Honestly, Simona, I try not to comment about anybody's program, but watching them on film.
Yeah.
You see the new quarterback, and
Sure.
You see the stability and the level that he's playing at, and being right here next to where Deuce is from, you knew what kind of player he was coming out of high school. So you're starting to see some continuity in the quarterback room, and maybe that'll lead to more success. But like you said, we got to just tend to our own garden and focus on our thing over here.
Yeah, on that note, how can a game like this kind of just prepare you for the Sun Belt? Because we know, obviously, that the Sun Belt is without question, at least in our opinion, the toughest group of 5, group of 6 conference that there is. I mean, year in and year out, this is a conference that is upsetting P4 programs, that it is really just right on the brink of being a team that can be right there in the playoff conversation. How can a game like this help you guys tenfold as you move forward into the bulk of the conference schedule?
Well, I mean, for all of us who played high school football, it's no different. You want to test yourself early in the season, get ready for conference, make sure you play the best competition you can play. So if you go deep in the playoffs, you're ready for that type of competition. And this will certainly, I mean, talk about a benchmark. I mean, this is certainly a test. And I love it. I think it tells us where our team is. Every game tells you where your team is, but I think for us to play this level of competition and this type of stadium and this type of atmosphere, I think you're testing everything about your team.
Speaking more big picture, I was reading Auburn's game notes, and this is the 12th in-state opponent they have played in the history of college football. Obviously, they play the one that's across the state in Tuscaloosa. But how important is this from an interstate matchup to be able to have South Alabama in Auburn for the first time ever?
I think it's tremendous. I mean, I've said it before, but I would love to do this every year. It's about the state of Alabama. It's about us. It's about our people. It's we have 49 kids, I believe. I may be off a number or two, but we're tied with, I believe, Jacksonville State for the most amount of in-state kids on our roster. So, this only makes sense. It's good for our economy. It's good for our fans. It's good for our culture in Alabama. It's great to bring different parts of the state together, whether it's the state of Mobile going up to Tuscaloosa or to Auburn. It's outstanding. I mean, that's what it should be.
Coach, I know you've been obviously there at South Alabama for a good while. You're in your second term as the head coach. But when you think back to that game against Oklahoma State and what that did for this program, just in terms of, I don't know, it just seemed as though there was an excitement, a feel. You win a bowl game. There's just a lot going on that season. How did something like that kind of help morph this program or take them to another level, so to speak, in terms of a national brand or just internally in the locker room? What did you see maybe was a difference maker there?
Well, that's exactly what it is. When you get a chance to go play one of the, anointed conferences and you go beat one of the anointed teams in the anointed conferences, and you're not a part of that group, then people start to pay attention to you.
Yep.
And that's what we want, as many of those opportunities as we can get. And I've seen it happen with numerous programs. It's everybody can go all the way back to 2007. When Boise State throws a hook and lateral against Oklahoma. Nobody had heard about Boise State. I mean, just the avid football fan had, but everybody heard about them that night. And it happens with all kind of these group of 5 programs.
Coach,
so I love the opportunities.
No question. And we know it's a huge opportunity. You have a lot of history in the anointed programs. If we just take a look at what it is that you have done in your career, we got to go to the archives for back in the day. One, loved the haircut, loved the mean mugging, no question about that. But obviously a historic career for you at the highest level there at Texas. You think back to just those days now that Texas is obviously here, in the SEC. This is a program that was the number 1 ranked team coming into the year as well. Just think back to those days. You coached at Alabama. You've been a part of the biggest of the big. What kind of stands out to you, and maybe kind of does it make it full circle a little bit to take a program like South Alabama, who has its own respect in its own right, but for the kids to be able to go, hey, and have this experience, given the fact that you kind of have been there and done that, so to speak, not only as a player, being the Big 12 Freshman of the Year and winning a national title at Alabama and everything that is kind of a part of your resume. You love those pictures, by the way.
Yeah, it was like memory lane. But at the end of the day, you go play the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember being awestruck of the black shirts in 1998. We're going to play Nebraska, and they've got a 47 home game winning streak, and you know, and you come up with things to say as a coach. But I remember our coach saying, just take the N off the helmet and go play them.
Yep.
Just go. You're not playing the entire state of Nebraska. You're not playing Tom Osborne. You're not playing Frazier. You're not playing all of those guys that played there. Just go play this 98 team, take the N off the helmet and go play.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, you get out there in the first 2 or 3, 4 plays and it's a game and it's a ball game.
Yep.
And that's, you try to help your players kind of visualize what it's going to be. You've been there. You may talk about the locker room. You may talk about, hey, you know, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they're going to play a song. And, you know, these are all the things, these are sights and sounds and smells that you kind of visualize and be ready for the game. And I think that's helpful for an athlete. You know, you want to visualize your performance. You want to visualize your stage and where you're at. So there's things like that we'll share with them. And you know, otherwise we'll stay on routine. And that's the best thing you can do for an athlete is keep his routine the same.
Coming up next on Sports Overtime, more from the best of Southeast Sports Plus.
This show is called Southeast Sports Plus, so we always talk the Southeast, no question.
Right.
But every now and then we make an exception to let someone north of the Mason-Dixon come on the show, especially if they're from Nexstar Nation and especially if they're a good friend of the show. So without further ado, hello, how are you, Mr. Chris Hagan, joining us from Indianapolis, who Alabama roots, though. We'll have to start there, Chris, because you are from the great state of Alabama.
Well, I was raised in Birmingham, Alabama, but I was born in Mississippi, and I thought I was coming on the show to talk about the best team in the Southeastern Conference, Mississippi State, fresh off their win over Arizona State. But you know what? If you need me to talk about something else, I can. But I had to get a little Hail State while I had you guys' attention.
If he doesn't bring entertainment to everywhere he goes, then what are we doing? I mean, this is the best in the business for a reason. Chris, before we ever even talk about Notre Dame in this matchup that at the moment no one is losing sleep over, let's talk about those Bulldogs and this $500,000 fine. What do you think about that?
You know what? If I could add into the money, I would do it. I would send my 401k just to celebrate that win. As a lifelong State fan, I'd seen so many games go with that script. You blow the 17-0 lead. You're losing in the fourth quarter. They showed the kicker warming up on the sideline to maybe kick a game-tying field goal. I said, sit down, son. We won't get anywhere near a field goal. I've seen this before. And then what do you know? We throw it deep. I screamed so loud, I didn't have my voice for the next day when we did the Colts pregame show. But, yeah, find us all you want as long as we keep getting wins. Won 2 games all of last season. Already have 2 now. Yep. So everything now is just playing with house money.
Honestly, at this point, it's all on the up and up. There's no question. Chris, we know that you have definitely roots down here in the South. But looking ahead to this game against Texas A&M, this is a game A&M, Notre Dame went head-to-head last year in College Station. Of course, the Irish went in, got a big win in that game. And right now, the Aggies looking to return the favor in South Bend. What are your initial thoughts on this matchup right now?
Well, I think it's the worst time for Texas A&M or anybody to be going up to South Bend to take on the Irish. They lost that season opener down there in Miami. So this is pretty much a must-win, even though it's only the second game of the season for the Fighting Irish. You know, last year they lost to Northern Illinois and had to win 10 straight just to get into the playoffs before reaching the national championship game. If they fall to 0-2, nothing but pressure to win from here on out. The schedule's a little tougher than it was last year. So you're going in to face a Notre Dame team that's, by the way, had 2 weeks to get ready for this one. They're back home. The last time they played at home was a night game in the playoffs against Indiana. I was there. Electric atmosphere. I think you'll see the same come Saturday night. Well, thanks for saying hi while you were up there.
First of all, I was there because my dad is a season ticket holder. And on that note, I'm going to tell a very quick story. My mom is in town. She flew down here from Ohio, right? And she's coming in for Grandparents' Day. It's my kid's first Grandparents' Day. And she's leaving at 6 a.m. on Saturday. Okay, so I'm going to see her for like 40 seconds later on today because we have high school football on Friday. She's swooping in, going to Grandparents' Day, and she's leaving. So I asked her last night, I picked her up at the airport. I said, Mom, you could not have booked an earlier flight on a Saturday. Like, my God almighty. Like, she said, I got to get to South Bend. I said, so let me get this straight. You're coming down here to see my son for Grandparents' Day, and then you are hightailing it out of here so you can go watch a college football game, which I would give my left arm to go see. So that naturally, of course, what else would you expect from a grandmother?
Yes, she's very efficient with her time. She'll get in, she'll get out, get right back to what's really important, of course, college football.
No question.
I was about to say that's perfect scheduling from your mom.
I was
That's
impressed,
excellent.
and I have fallen totally by the wayside. So anyway, we can move forward with the program.
All right, so I wanted to ask you. You mentioned last year an early loss, and then they had to rattle off a bunch of wins to make the college football playoff. Ended up going to the national championship game. That was with a quarterback that was a senior who's now with the Indianapolis Colts, right there in your neighborhood, and Riley Leonard. There's a quarterback that wears his same number 13, that's there now. He's a true freshman. How do you think he handles this spot, given the early loss and then what's ahead for this season?
Well, I thought he showed tremendous poise in that week 1 loss, bringing the team back. They were down 21-7, talking about, of course, C.J. Carr. And to be making his first career start in that environment, he really acquitted himself well in that fourth quarter. And you like to think not only a team, but an individual makes their biggest leap from week 1 to week 2. And the teammates rallied around him. Remember, he had to win a quarterback battle. This wasn't just handed to him coming in and taking the place of Riley. This is something he had to earn. Marcus Freeman has great confidence in him. And he showed flashes of why he can be so good late in that game as they rallied and almost came all the way back against the Hurricanes.
Yeah, big one there for C.J. Carr and company. As it relates to Marcus Freeman and this defense, what do you expect them to throw at Marcel Reed? Because he's obviously had a fantastic 2 games to start the season. And as you mentioned, I think this defense last year was kind of the calling card for this Notre Dame football team. They had a bunch of leaders there on the defense. What do you think the defense does to attack this offense that's been on a hot streak over the first 8 quarters?
You talk about making adjustments from week 1 to week 2. Don't forget, there's a new defensive coordinator for the Irish. Chris Ash replaces Al Golden, who went back to the NFL. So some adjustments need to be made, and a very different quarterback that they saw in week 1 with Carson Beck. This is a different animal to attack, and I think that it will be a much different game plan, and they could suffer from a different kind of quarterback from week to week. As we know, they have different skill sets. So I think they'll try to turn up the pressure, but also be careful, because this is a guy that can tuck it and run and beat you with some design runs.
Coming up next on Sports Overtime, more from the best of Southeast Sports Plus.
It's about 80 degrees, light breeze, sunny, a little unusual for this time of year, but it was a spectacular day on campus going to listen to an interesting Steve Sarkisian media availability.
Yeah, Roger, it's so funny to me how we all respond to, in the South, how we all respond to it just being a tiny little glimmer of fall. Because this morning, when I was taking my son to school, he walked out to the porch, and he puts his hands up like this. Okay, I didn't give him a jacket. I didn't know what it was like. He puts his hands like this, and he's like, it was 71 degrees. And I'm thinking, we are so spoiled right now. Because, and by the way, the high is like 87 today. So it's not like it's going to be cold, but we're all so ridiculously spoiled. I mean, I don't call it spoiled, because I like the fall weather coming in, but it's kind of funny because we can get our PSL action on here pretty soon with our pumpkin spice lattes, Roger. Are you a PSL guy?
Anytime you can get the word crisp in when you're talking about the weather, it was a little crisp this morning here. It's going to be 97 degrees today. So
Jesus, yes. There you go. And speaking of hot tempered, it seemed like there are some headlines out there right now that indicate that Steve Sarkisian might have had a little bit of a short patience with some questioning today regarding his quarterback. Roger, how did that play out there today?
The same way it did Saturday. The question was, Arch Manning, is there an issue with the shoulder? If you watched the game on TV, a couple of throws, tight shots of him, and he kind of made what people would describe as a grimace. The problem is nobody knows what that means, and nobody's offering anything. So Sark shut it down real quick Saturday, and he shut it down real quick today. Who told you this? How do you know? I don't know what your face means when you're doing something, and you can go to the Twitter and figure out what my analogy is here based on what Sark said. That was the one thing he does. Sark gives great long answers, not there. So, Arch never came out of the ballgame for any reason. He never had his shoulder worked on, and there's no reason to believe it other than you can read into what you want watching a TV broadcast.
Roger, I want to read this because either Sark misspoke, ESPN misprinted, or I'm confused. I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the bathroom, so I don't know
that was what I was getting at
when you're doing that. What?
Yeah, so that's what Roger was talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is that? What is that comment?
It's kind of a clunky parallel. I get what he's trying to say, but it's kind of a clunky parallel, no?
I'm not breaking that one down.
Thank you so much for watching Sports Overtime here on WKRG. Remember, you can watch Southeast Sports Plus Monday to Friday, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on your free WKRG Plus app. Catch us on your Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV device. Good night.